me personally, like when I was like, playing in my old band, the Snails, and doing a lot of touring and playing ska shows, like I felt like our band at the time was not doing that at all. And it kind of felt, it seemed to be like happening all across the scene. Like there was, I feel like the ska scene was very cliquey. Like there's the traditional ska bands, there's the third wave ska bands, and like
they kind of just like stick to that.
Yeah, and like I just noticed that like there wasn't like people like got gung ho about ska. It was more like the third wave bands were like, yeah, ska, 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 and then like there was just a lot of other bands that were just like all for themselves, and like not saying that's a bad thing, but like it was just noticeable that like it wasn't this type of community. And then I feel like just in like the creation of like Bad Time Records, and like that kind of just brought this sort of unity, because there wasn't like many, I don't know, it just seemed like all the scenes were like they had their own little thing, and Bad Time just kind of is like this nice blanket, like worldwide blanket. I mean, it's mostly US at this point, but like it seems to be even spreading like beyond the US. And like I don't know, it just seems like in the past years, like things have totally changed with like the relationships between bands and stuff, and it just like,
which is great.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like Mike started Bad Time like literally to create a community, to create the exact sort of thing like we're talking about, to create a community, to create a family, to create people, friends who are stoked for their other friends. But what's rad about it is there's, when he started it, and like all the bands are affiliated with it, and I mean you could even go even to bands that aren't on Bad Time that are just rad bands, rad ska bands, ska punk fans, whatever. It was never said or like mandated your affiliation with Bad Time. You're like, oh, you have to promote these bands, you have to share this stuff. We just do it because they're our friends. Like, so that's sort of inherent, like we're part of Bad Time, we're part of the community, but nobody's like, oh, well, you need to post this many things, or we need, like, you just do it because you're stoked to see your friends put out rad shit, and that just snowballs and perpetuates, and it just is really what just pushes it. And it's like an unspoken agreement that, like, being a part of Bad Time is like, okay, like you just want to see your friends succeed, and you just want to see, fucking be stoked about everybody putting out rad music, and it just, it kind of just is almost just happens naturally.
Yeah, and like everyone's realizing you can't just do this on your own.
Right.
Like it takes a family.
Absolutely. Like, because I have the record label that I, started several years back, and one of the things that I tried to instill in like any of the bands that I was working with was, I want this to feel like a support system amongst all of the bands, even if you don't know each other. Like it's